What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Wise Weekly. We are the two guys from Wise. I'm Mark Airy.
Chad Miller.
Thanks for tuning in today. This is going to be pretty much our first full podcast. Probably the last one without a guest for a while. Obviously, with everything going on, we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. And that's kind of brings us to our next point and really why we're doing this. Chad and I have been friends for about a year and a half, 2 years now that we've come up with. We see eye to eye on a lot of things, but there's a lot of things we don't see eye to eye on. He and I were both in an election recently, and we had other folks that we were rooting for in those positions, and I tell you that we have a lot in common, but a lot that we don't see.
Yeah, and I think with that, the how that relates to this is the fact that two guys who, now we definitely see alike on some things.
Yeah, well.
We see alike way more than we don't.
Yeah.
But there are differences that we have, but yet at the same time, we respected one another.
Right.
And that's what it's all about, is that we had a dialogue. Right?
And there's something else we have in common. We both lost those elections.
That's true.
I had to say it.
Yeah, man. That's true. That's why we're here right now and not serving.
But, what we want to bring to this podcast is we want to bring a diverse group of people on here. We want some amazing in-depth conversations producing, diversity of thought.
Right.
It's so important. And that's what we aim to achieve here is bringing on anyone with a different view and of course, people with the same views.
Correct. And I think that we all know the polarity and we've seen it. Mm-hmm. You and I especially have seen it. And again, last time we'll point it out, but first time publicly, is we peaked in the 90s.
That's right.
And the reason why is because I think that was the last of the Democrats and the Republicans sharing
some middle ground.
Yeah. They would disagree. Yeah. They wouldn't even agree on this. They would agree it's a problem. Yeah. But the solution comes different from our side of the aisle. But the problem was the same. Yeah. And that was because we shared our Judeo-Christian values. Yeah. We really did. Yeah. And so you think about it, 98, that was Columbine. Yeah. 98 was Columbine, and you've pegged it. You've pegged the year about 98. That's when you graduated high school, right? 2000. Yeah. Now I'm kind of jumping ahead because we are going to talk about these school shootings. But this back then, we could disagree.
That's where it started to.
Yes, and now we've drifted so far. And why is that? Because we lost the shared common values.
I think you're probably spot on with that, and that's the majority of the reason. But make no mistake.
It's
multiple
reasons, man.
And more now than ever, it's intentional on pitting us against each other, the sides. And the older I've gotten and the longer this has been going on, the more it just stinks. And I don't want to be a guy that people think he's just always pitting against the other side because that's not me.
We're pleading, actually, I think. Right. I know that I am, and I know you are too. We're pleading. Just listen, 2 years we were pleading. This is not true. Right. These masks, these mandates, everything else, and now, of course, we're going to see the fallout for who knows how long. Mm. And it's not like we're reveling in, and I told you so. That has nothing to do with that. We were begging people from the left and right and in between. We got to come together on this. Same thing with the transgender thing. And the good thing about with this gun violence thing is that we do agree gun violence is a problem. Nobody wants guns in the hands of someone who's going to use it in a malicious way. Right. We all agree on that. Right. But then we part ways on how to accomplish that. But anyway, to go back to it, just to put a cap on that, because I jumped ahead on the gun thing. The goal of this podcast, you and I can disagree on this. We can disagree on the solutions. We can have this division. Is we've got to do what we can here in our community to bridge that divide and get back to it. And that's one beautiful thing about a local community like this. Mm-hmm. We may have differing political ideologies of certain points, but at the end of the day, this is pretty much that common ground that the United States used to have. Right. We still have that. Yeah. We still have that. Yeah. Not everybody.
We still live in harmony here.
Well, and because we still understand certain things like that God is God. Yeah. We're a theistic county. Yeah. And we gravitate that way. So therefore we have those common values. But even if we differ on those, we still want to talk to you. Yeah. I still want to be open-minded. Holy smokes.
Golly, tree branch. That's a good one. I thought it was a cat dying or something.
All right.
We got to keep that in. We're not cutting that out.
Oh, I know.
So anyways, back to the school shooting. So I've had the opportunity to watch and listen to several firsthand accounts. You know, even a little girl whose friend had been murdered speak. They didn't show her on camera; they just had her voice. It's gut wrenching. It's hard to do, and you ask yourself, "Gosh, how could these things happen? How the back door? How did he crash this truck?" Start shooting shots towards the school from outside, and was outside over 10 minutes before he entered, and there's no apprehension. And even take it a step further, it started out at his grandmother's house. He shot her in the face, stole the truck, took off. So I would imagine immediately 911 was called when he shot his grandmother. So the police would have had to have known there's a maniac on the loose, I would say within at most 120 seconds from the time he shot his grandmother.
Yeah, he arrived at the school at 11:28. They showed up at 11:35. 7 minutes?
Wow. And then, you know, we've all seen the videos of obviously concerned parents trying to go in while the police officers were standing around outside. They actually apprehended a couple people. I've seen the videos of it. And one story that's emerged, and it's come out from a couple news sources, and I've seen videos that I believe verifies it. A woman was apprehended at one time, detained, handcuffed at one time. A mother. She had 2 kids in there. She knew a local police officer, and she convinced him to tell, I think it was the marshals, I'm not sure, to uncuff her. They uncuffed her. She kind of just works her way away from the crowd, hops the fence, goes in, gets her babies, and comes out and they apprehend her again. I just can't understand for the life of me why these trained officers did not run in and risk their lives. They gave an excuse at one time. There was nobody left alive. That was one of their excuses one time. They didn't go in because it was too late and there was nobody in that classroom left alive.
Part of your title as a police officer your title is a first responder. Yeah. That means if there's someone who got shot, if there's someone who's bleeding, if there's someone who is shooting, you are the first responder to respond to that. Now, an EMT doesn't get to, worry about the guy who's shooting. Yeah. Everything else he does, fireman. But a policeman, you're all of it.
He has the gun for a reason.
You got the gun and you've got training. They know how to do certain things.
Bulletproof vest and stuff like that.
Right. And they know how to treat certain things. So, and the thing that really was so obviously paramount that we all agree on, the loss of life.
Sure.
Horrific, tragic. There's nothing but sorrow. But within that, we got to have a conversation about the other logistic details and some of the details. We want to talk about how to prevent these things from happening.
Right.
And of course, everyone says, common sense gun laws, blah, blah, blah. Right. And I've whittled it down of all these, and we can go through some of those because I want to address that. Sure. When someone says, background checks, ban ARs, ban assault rifle, whatever. Let's talk about all of it. But
repealing the Second Amendment's off the table.
That's the point. 400 million guns. Yeah. The bell has been, you can't unring that bell in America.
The gun's not really so much for the bad neighbor, the bad guy.
You're hitting. We've seen history, bro.
Yeah, we both know what the gun's for.
We know what history, and by the way, that's what the Second Amendment, a well-armed militia.
Right.
To defend against robbers.
So it's not illegal to, it's not supposed to be illegal. You'll go on a watch list real quick if you form a militia. That's not illegal. It was encouraged.
That was the whole point.
To be in America.
That was the point.
Right. And that was it's checks and balances.
And we have to, and that's the good thing when you really actually think, if you love America, you have to be willing to admit that the leading people in America can become corrupted.
Yeah.
But because of those founding documents, we can question
checks and balances.
We can question them. We can form a well-armed militia. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what it's for. So you're not going to get rid of the guns. So now what? Ultimately, my solution, and I think that most people have come up with, is armed security on site. And a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. Well, we know that.
To your point, if you're in Uvalde and you have to do 48 drills in a year to try and protect your kids, why wasn't the Guardian program implemented where some of these teachers are armed? In hindsight,
meaning if we're at that level where it's this big of a concern because you may have some.
Of course. Even if it's just the principal with a gun or just even 2 teachers with a gun, somebody with a gun.
If you allow the teachers who wanted to, fine, take the class.
You're going to find around here over 50%.
Correct.
Some areas maybe it's only 20, but hey, 20% is better than no percent.
And you talk
Get rid of gun-free zones. Put signs up you come here shooting, we're going to shoot back.
So if we as a community come together and say we would like to vote to where, let's say it increases our taxes. I mean, and like you said, it's small. All school districts in the county will want to increase our property tax, whatever we have to do to pay for the training, certification. And really, that's it. Because
so you know what I say, Chad?
they bring their own gun. And even if we wanted to do armed security, and I think that's actually another thing to add. It's okay if teachers are just backup to the armed security. You pay that guy at every school, right, not roaming. And that's what happened in Uvalde. They had people
roaming campus to campus, never at one place. Budget was cut so much.
There you go. So we as a community were fine with that. Yeah. And that's, again, what was so frustrating is there wasn't an armed guard there. And when the cops showed up, they didn't do anything. But I wanted to know locally, because I know you've actually started reaching out. What if locally, what can we do? And what have you been doing?
So I reached out to a couple people I know and got some great information real quick. But, the Guardian program.
Expound on that just a hair, the Guardian program.
Guardian program, I think, is state guidelines for arming teachers. It's the way to put weapons in teachers' hands legally. And I haven't dug much into the program. Yeah. I just learned about it. And
so it's already there, the guidelines.
It's already there. Yeah, exactly. But there's no reason in rural Texas where, we like our guns. Lots of these teachers still, thankfully, are around here that like their guns. Mm-hmm. There's no reason that every campus around here, there shouldn't be armed teachers with big signs, because you can't tell me we would have to look up the statistics, but when these people go crazy and start shooting innocent people, it's usually in gun-free zones.
Absolutely.
I mean,
how many areas in life we have armed guards at banks, at hospitals, celebrity events, courthouses? You've been in the courthouse. Yeah. You got to go through the metal detector, jewelry stores in the mall. Yeah. You got a jewelry store in the mall that has armed security. Sure. But at our school where our kids are, we got a sign.
Isn't it crazy?
Dude, look.
Isn't it crazy?
So if you open that up to where, and by the way, that was attempted, at least in Decatur ISD.
Oh, I know it was, and I know the people who were against it too.
And that's another thing we need to revisit with the school board.
Yes.
And
I've also reached out to several school board members. I will say, if I was a school board member and this had happened, I would be talking about it publicly on social media, and I would be saying, hey, after the recent events, this is what I believe we need to do. And it frustrates me that there's no school board members, or I haven't seen it like on a social media platform. I think that conversation should be entered with the public. So many people.
It's clearly relevant.
Here's what they're tired of with elected leaders is no relation. How can just, your average citizen who's concerned about things have a relationship with one of these school board members and feel like their voices are being heard?
Right.
Open up the topic for discussion.
Correct. And that's why, again, what we're wanting to do is help with that, because we see these things need to be talked about.
Now we're on the school board talk. But what elected leaders supposed to do, someone on the school board, you should be going to the board with your ideals to improve the system, not just going to the meeting and dealing with the things that are already on the agenda. And you should be letting the public know, these are my ideas. What are yours? And then you should take that to the board, express it. That's the role of the job.
Yeah.
Not to just deal with stuff that comes down the pipe.
No.
You create things and changes and
innovate
to improve the system.
That's right. And it's not all about pipes and bricks and paint and gym floors and stadium lights. That's not what it's all about. I'm not saying those things aren't important, but we've got bigger things that we have to be thinking about that truly affect either the safety. And us, I mean, we're guys who are like, hey, safety, we might have gone a little overboard on the safety protocols everywhere. Yeah. Dodgeballs aren't those red hammer balls, that would literally knock a kid out. But this is an issue that we are concerned about safety. Absolutely concerned. And again, that bridges that. We as a community care about that. So let's talk about what we can do to solve it. School shootings, if we're just going to focus on that, and that's why I think it's such an easy thing to focus on, because it's a very similar environment everywhere you go. A public school's kind of a public school.
Yeah. Apply the same logic.
The logistics are the same. The logistics are the same. So then if we can focus on that, third time I'm going to say it, I'll end. Armed security, show me. And again, just because there are failures in that, Parkland, there was an armed guy on duty there, and he backed down.
If you remember in Parkland too, they had an issue of the police not going after the shooter too.
That's exactly right. They sure did. But it goes back to the point of the school shootings, though, and how to prevent them. Again, come up with something else other than what we've proposed, armed security, even though it has failures, and even though the police failed. And by the way, that does need to be addressed. You bet. And so, and I think to tie it back to Wise County, so let's talk about the solutions that we as a community can do. And I think one, anyone who has concerns about this, guess what you can do? You can go to the school board meetings. You can go to the school board meetings.
Talk about it, bring it up.
Go to the school board meetings.
Yeah.
Right. If you have a concern about what's going on in the school or what could happen in the school, go to the school board. Let your voice be heard. So that's step one. And that right there is something we can do immediately.
That's the biggest step.
It's the most obvious step. Yeah. And by the way, you elect these people. So maybe you start in the I think the school board elections, are they every year or 2 years? I
think there's one every year.
There's one every year.
Yeah, because they rotate.
So let's put this on the docket. Ask that question every time.
And Chad brings up a good point. Anybody, whether you're well known or not, if you've ever had the inclination to run for office, to serve, man, there's not been a better time in history that, at least my adult life, that I can tell, because things are changing rapidly and there's a lot of people moving here, and I believe there's a ton of great people moving here. But there's also going to be people that move here and want to change our values and change our way of life.
Correct.
I am one to try and preserve that as much as possible. Growth is inevitable. It's coming. But I want the growth to happen controlled, and for us to know what's going on in the direction we're going in.
And the good thing is, not everybody can run for office, but you can still let your voice be heard. Social media is an obvious one, but that can be a little bit of an echo chamber. But that school board meeting room, that is not, I mean, that's an echo chamber where there's actually echoing, but these people are hearing you, and it's going in the public record. There are meetings, notes, and minutes, rather, that are going in. All of that's in the so let them know. Yeah. So let them know about the school shootings, anything that you have concerns about, right? If you want the campus of the high school open for lunch because you think it brings money to local businesses, go to the school board. Let them know that.
The
curriculum
thing, all of
go to the school board.
Anything. And listen, even if you don't have kids in public education, well, let me tell you something. You're paying a lot of taxes into Wise County. You have the voice. You have the right to go voice your opinion at these school board meetings.
Well, and that's a very good point, because we, as you know, and a lot of people know, we were a homeschool family up until my oldest, who just graduated, was a freshman. My son was in fifth. My daughter was in third. We were a homeschool family. Right. But yet their counterparts, because the majority of kids, the majority of our future are in the public school system. Right. You have a vested interest in the community, in the future of this community.
What type? Yes, sir.
Because it may not be your kid,
yes, sir,
but it doesn't matter. You're still a part of this community,
yes, sir,
and this is small enough to where we can actually influence it.
And you know, to that point, it doesn't just have to be this topic. Anything that the leadership you feel like should be doing, or you want to know their plan.
Let your voice be heard.
Let your voice be heard. Don't be scared to pick the phone up, make those calls, or go to those meetings and put your name down and get up there and talk. We're all tax-paying citizens, and that's how our system works. And if we're not the ones going and telling these leaders what we need as the citizens, they're just going to do really what they think we need. And good leaders are getting most of it, but there's always going to be that part where you feel like your voice isn't being heard.
And that's why I think, to wrap it all up with a ribbon and a string, that's what we want to do here.
Yeah.
Is we want to give that voice, because this is just you and I right now, but our goal is to get these people in here with us. Yeah. And then for you, the people who listen and are here with us, send your questions in. Send a question in, send a comment in, send a video in.
We want to hear it all.
We want to hear it all.
Yeah, every bit of it. The good, the bad, the ugly. Let us know what you think. Let's open up a dialogue. Let's communicate. And also, if you got any recommendations for who you would like to see on the show,
let's do it.
Bring it.
If you want to come on yourself, you got a story to tell,
let us know.
Let us know, and then share this. Share this stuff with your friends and say, look, we want to get this dialogue going and talk about all of these things that are affecting each of us. Yeah. And these guys are not afraid to do it.
But anyways, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know your questions. See ya.